It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome into another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders on his afternoon drive. Alan, how we doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Getting into the old practice routine, although not a routine practice schedule today, but back on the south side, back in traffic.
Yeah.
Well,
sometimes this is Monday, but I feel like Tuesday's episode has already written itself. We can dive into this. How's this sound? Instant reaction to Gabe Davis signing.
Yeah, I think that sounds pretty good. Reported by Adam Schefter. I did a whole morning rush this morning about how, man, if this wide receiver's coming, I don't know from where. And then Schefter was like, "By God, King, that's Gabe Davis's music." He's not coming back if he doesn't plan to sign and doesn't think he can pass a physical. Now, not every player can do everything they think they can do, but I would put the percentage of Gabe Davis being a Pittsburgh Steeler at this point tomorrow absurdly high.
Which would complete my collection of graphics that I created back in April to go along with the Aaron Rodgers one, and then I had made a Jalen Ramsey one when Ricky the Dog put out that there was interest. So I've had some in the bank. I've been waiting to use this one if I got the opportunity to. Going back to, like I said, I think it was last month, I said, hey, if I get cold takes exposed on this, I'm fine with it, but I'm willing to throw it out there. I think Gabe Davis will eventually become a Pittsburgh Steeler. Like you said, has there ever been a case that you can remember where a player came for a second visit and then didn't sign?
I'm sure it's happened, but I can't come up off the top of my head. The second visit in general is pretty rare. I mean, if it does happen, there have been times when there have just been fundamental disagreements between a player's camp and a team's camp about the healthiness of a player. So, there are situations where, a player will say he's healthy, a player's doctor will say he's healthy, and the team doctor will say, actually, we're not comfortable with that. So that stuff does happen. And so it's not 100%er, but I would assume that the intention of all parties is for Gabe Davis to be a Steeler tomorrow.
Yeah. And we can talk more about that when and if that happens, obviously. And we've already honestly touched on it in the past, like when we thought that when he was coming here for a meeting the first time and we thought it was on the table for him to sign and talked about the fit and everything like that. But when and if it does come to fruition tomorrow, I'm sure we'll spend a hefty bit of time talking about that transaction actually taking place. Speaking of transactions, we can go there now with ones that did take place today. 3 in, 3 out. Cam Alexander, Jake McQuaid, who just sounds like he played the role of a heartthrob quarterback in a Disney movie. Julian Pearl, an offensive tackle, they are in. Devin Harper, Rock Taylor, and Braden Fehoko out. I think the one that's going to jump out to people right away, Alan, is Rock Taylor being on the outs there of this roster.
Yeah, I mean, it surprises me a little bit in that I don't think Rock Taylor was the worst wide receiver on the Steelers roster, but he probably wasn't far from it either. And I think the playing time in the preseason should tell you a lot about what the Steelers thought about him. I think there was some behavioral stuff going on there too that wasn't necessarily, X's and O's ability decision making. So maybe that's some context for some people that are looking at this like, what the heck? But I didn't think Rock Taylor was going to make the team. I did think he would have been on the practice squad, which when you get cut now, I don't think that looks like a strong possibility. I mean, it's possible, but I would kind of doubt it.
Yeah. I mean, that second part there was kind of what I was thinking, because I would have thought, kind of a shoo-in, to be honest with you, for the practice squad, just like even a week ago, prior to Saturday's game. I probably would have said that. So I was wondering if there was something more than football going on there. And to be honest, like this is just my own personal watching him live and then watching it back. Didn't love, the effort at times on Saturday, and just wonder, if this is all kind of part of the picture here, going kind of coinciding with what you're saying, where it was more than just a football thing. Why now with Rock Taylor being cut from this roster?
Well, and the other thing is, like, you always have to remember players are generally, not always, sometimes things just fall through the cracks. But players are generally where they are in the draft process for a reason. And, I think one of the reasons why Rock Taylor was always this sort of fan hype beast was that just the physical tools do not line up with where he was on draft boards. He was not. It's not like he was some. It's not like Sebastian Castro. It's not like he was some fourth-round pick who was expected to be undrafted. He was expected to be undrafted, but has better tools than you would think for a player like that. And there's usually a reason why at some point down the
road. Can you tell us anything about the addition? Obviously, Jake McQuaid's a long snapper, so coming in as Christian Kuntz insurance, although we can touch on that
veteran guy
within your answer here.
On his Wikipedia page, he played for the St. Louis Rams in addition to the Los Angeles Rams. He played at Ohio State with Cam Hayward. So, yeah, been around the block a little bit. No lack of experience for Jake McQuaid.
The part of that, though, where I said about Christian Kuntz insurance, I guess you can kind of work that in with that. What do we know about that, Christian Kuntz, and his availability?
Yeah, I talked to Christian today. He was at practice today. Really good to see him out there. Wasn't snapping, but just sort of shagging flies for the kickers. But he said it hurts. But Christian Kuntz, friend of the pod, of course. I go to ask him, like, how you doing? He goes, how are you doing? I'm like, buddy, nobody cares about me right now. Better than you. You're the one. How are you? He's the nicest man in the world. Said it hurts, but he's trying to play week 1. So we'll see. The roster may have something else to say about that, but can't fault the man for his toughness.
Because that's so Christian. Like, I just love that it was just like he was just trying to have a regular, like, normal interaction with you, as if you're not trying to figure out what's going on with the sternum there. Like, no, I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah. I hope that he wins. Like the Steelers win the Super Bowl, and then he can go in a Kurt Angle career as the guy who long snapped in a Super Bowl with a broken friggin' sternum.
Print the shirts. Print the shirts now in advance. Yeah. The other ones mentioned there, Cam Alexander and Julian Pearl. Can you tell us anything about either of those two guys?
Yeah, Cam Alexander, interesting that they brought in another sort of smaller corner. They kind of already have been playing Jalen Ramsey, who's not small at all in the slot. Brandon Eccles, not particularly small in the slot. They got Beanie Bishop there. They got Deshaun Jameson there. Darryl Porter has played inside and outside. So I'm not quite sure what the story is there. I guess that will be told. They have been using Porter a good bit outside. So maybe they got to look at Porter and said, actually, we think this guy's an outside corner, and decided they want to go back for more slot help. Not a banged up position, so a little curious that that's a place they felt like they needed to make an addition. I thought first thing when I saw, because that got reported first by was it Schefter? I think it was Adam Schefter.
Yeah.
I thought, man, like they cut Deshaun Jameson for running into the kicker. Like that's I was like, that would be a
that's unfortunate, but that is where your mind goes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first thought. So glad that didn't happen for him. Obviously, the third man here, Julian Pearl. I think I interviewed him at the Combine last year out of Illinois. They had another offensive lineman that was a higher rated prospect, and I remember Julian Pearl showing up on tape as just very like stout, sturdy, not flashy, but like didn't get beat. Like kind of reminded me a little bit of Dan Moore coming out of college. And like not like nobody's like top prospect, but like maybe the results look a little bit better than the physical tools. Ended up going undrafted, bounced around a couple places, was last with the Cleveland Browns. I think as interesting, again, we talked about they may need some guys to just get out there at the bottom of that offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see what he can do. I think that's a high upside, maybe not a high upside, but like compared to what you're usually getting this time of year, a little bit more intriguing than the rest of the field. And then while we're talking about the offensive line, I'll pivot to talk to Ryan McCollum today. Said he plans to play on Thursday night. He has been getting closer, was a limited participant in the joint practice before sitting out on Saturday. Says it's been very frustrating with the time he's missed and sort of lingering injury there, a lower body injury. But he said he's trying to get out there. So that will be a couple of nice additions to the depth on the offensive line. Gareth Warren still in the concussion protocol, and Aiden Williams out with that knee injury. So maybe they get Calvin Anderson back at some point, but you know, a little bit of depth was needed on that offensive line, as we talked about in the post game on Saturday.
Yeah, it's certainly been tested, and I'm somebody that, you know, I've mentioned this on here before. I tweet about it watching Saturday's game. Like, man, what a newfound appreciation that I had for Ryan McCollum after watching those performances of the depth offensive linemen. So they need, you know, especially in that interior.
What a career arc for him too. Like, get claimed on waivers in 2022. Was just like guy who hung around and was on the practice squad and did not play a regular season snap for his first 2 full seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Wasn't even dressed for a game. And then last year, Nate Herbig injury, James Daniels injury opened the door. Isaac Seumalo was injured early in the year, opened the door to putting him on the 53. Then Zach Frazier gets hurt. He gets in the starting lineup. Did just fine. Going up against a couple of really good defensive tackles, Dexter Lawrence and I think it was Quinn Williams next week, right? Yeah, and did really well for himself. And now he's this sort of key guy that they're waiting to get back. So what an awesome story for him, and hopefully he does get back. And maybe that second team offensive line can open up some more running lanes with McCollum back in there.
We can talk about that in a second, just, you know, what Artie had to say about the run game, but I do want to stick with the injuries because unfortunately transaction injuries kind of go hand in hand. You mentioned Ryan McCollum there first and foremost, but, you know, we saw Calvin Austin get back into the fold at least a little bit, fielding some punts, and he spoke about it, kind of saying he's still hopeful that he's able to play in week 1, but it's kind of in the coaching staff and medical people's hands if that's going to be the case. But, you know, we're still waiting on some other guys as well. So just fully encompassing here an injury update is what we're looking for, Alan.
Yeah, I mean, I can't kind of go all the way deep because like reporting rules on the south side here. But Alex Highsmith continues to be a limited participant in practice. Calvin Austin, I would call a very limited participant in practice, but the most he's done so far. And then got some Corey Trice work moving forward, which is good to see for him. Talked to TA about his roster spot being very much in jeopardy today. I mean, TA was about as blunt as you will get TA to be about Corey Trice's chances of making this team 100% as a result of the continued injuries. And then, you know, obviously still not – I'll say still without an update on Calvin Anderson, Nick Herbig, who was obviously left the preseason game on Saturday, and someone else I'm forgetting there. Is that pretty much it?
That might be it. Well, Skoranek is recent.
Oh, yeah. Skoranek. Yeah, Arthur Smith said he has a toe injury, something with like a big wrap around his foot. So I knew Skoranek had gotten hurt during the joint practice. I wasn't sure what was wrong. And I saw him out on the field before the game. He was just walking around and everything kind of looked normal. no brace, no wrap, no bandage. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on? And then I realized he was wearing shoes, which, if you know Ben Skoranek, walking around during warm-ups, shoes are usually not part of it. He is a barefoot
Oh,
on
is
the
he on
grass kind
the
of guy.
is he on the
Yeah.
Matt Collins route here?
Yeah. So I should have known Saturday that it was some kind of foot or toe thing, because otherwise Ben Skoranek is out there in pre-warm-ups and his little piggies.
Okay. That's interesting. Ben would that makes perfect sense.
At 100% correct. Roman Wilson also frequently barefoot at practice.
Okay. Yeah, Roman Wilson's also doing the wired headphones now. Is Roman Wilson just does he just take bits and pieces from all of his teammates in terms of his habits? He's got the wired headphones from Aaron. Is the barefoot thing from Ben? Is that his thing?
I don't know. And the thing about that is you got to be awfully careful about what things you try to crib from your teammates, because not everyone is the best example out there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Pick and choose your habit mimicking wisely.
Let's I said I want to come back to the run game.
And I'm not saying in general Ben Skoranek is one that I would necessarily be pointing to as the guy you want to be tailing. He's one of one, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever? You've had to. I would imagine you've at least seen them. Have you ever been around his family?
No, I've never met his family. I honestly haven't even been introduced to them, so I don't know anything about him.
He has a brother that looks just like him. It's kind of scary, to be honest with you. And saw him out on the field one time.
I think I have seen his brother at the trail.
All right. Yeah.
Now that you mentioned that.
Yeah, I wonder if they're all as interesting as Ben.
His dad's from Connellsville. I'd love to talk to his dad and swap some Western PA tales, but one day
it could happen. Yeah. Mentioned I wanted to come back to the run game thing, but you mentioned something actually I want to go to first, because you mentioned about TA being blunt about Corey Trice's spot on the roster. I would kind of throw Beanie Bishop, what he had to say there, kind of in that same bucket. So maybe tell us what he had to say there and what you make of the comments.
Yeah, he was very upfront about Beanie, was competing in the slot with Jalen Ramsey and Brandon Eccles, who are players that have been there, done that, and Beanie has, to a level that Beanie has not. It's going to be a tough competition for Beanie Bishop to win. So, I don't know that his roster spot is in jeopardy right now, but his role on this team and what he's going to do and how he gets in the lineup, I don't really see the path forward for him at this moment. It's going to be very difficult, which is tough. I thought Beanie had a good rookie year compared to his expectations, and I think is a player that they still think might turn into something. I don't think they're ready to give up on him by any means. It's just gotten to be a very crowded room, and there's a lot of talent that was added on top of him, and he's going to have to find a way to stick around.
What's so interesting about Beanie is you talk all the time about how rookies just aren't very good right away in the process. He was an undrafted rookie and was playing above expectation, even early on. I'm not saying he hasn't gotten better, but based off what he did at that portion of the calendar to where we were at throughout the season and then where we're at now, do you get the sense at all that maybe his game has plateaued, or is he just the victim of them bringing in much more talented players ahead of him at this point?
I think it's a lot of victim of them bringing in just far more talented players, especially Rams.
Sure.
Comparing those guys isn't even fair.
Right.
I think the other part of it is he is just always going to be a player because of the size that is going to be limited in how versatile he can be. Mm-hmm. And I think we've talked about how, part of the draw of the additions of guys like Slay and Ramsey was that, hey, maybe we can play him in safety. Maybe we can play him in the slot. Maybe we can do different stuff with these guys. They have one piece in Joey Porter and one piece in Deshaun Elliott in that secondary who are basically one-trick guys. Joey Porter's going to be an outside corner. Deshaun Elliott's going to be box safety. He can play cover 2. So I guess maybe not Elliott. But I just think it's hard for a guy being his size to show versatility. There's just only one job he can physically do. And so there's always going to be an uphill battle. But he seems to have a good mindset about it. He's got to find a way to become a more impactful special teamer. I think that's really when you look at the reason James Pierre is definitely going to make this roster. He ain't playing an outside corner unless there's a bus accident or something, right? Like it'd be the 5th outside corner on this team. He's solely making this team because he's a really good special teamer. Beanie can only play one position on defense. He's got to find a way to become an indispensable special teamer if he wants to stick around.
Yeah. Good point. Something I don't think that we've necessarily talked as much as we should have about in here prior, but absolutely. So that's what TA had to say. You mentioned already talking about Ben's toe, which just sounded weird to come out of my mouth. But I want to know what he had to say about the run game. As a lot has been made about just the lack of progress this run game has made throughout the summer, obviously how they've looked in training camp and through 2 preseason games. What did he have to say about that, which typically I think we look at and just say this is the calling card of this offense?
Well, a little deception from Arthur Smith here. Maybe not with us, but he basically said, look, we're kind of running some pretty basic stuff out there. Just because it looks like this in the preseason doesn't mean that's how it's going to look. And when you run basic stuff and you don't execute in the preseason, you don't move to the next page. You run it again. And until you get it right. And so, not to say they've been running the ball well, they have. Broderick Jones said when we talked to him, a lot of our running plays are a little bit, and I wish I could remember the exact word he used, unique. And we're not trying to show those in the preseason. So basically, the Steelers are just only running wide zone, and they want to get the details of that down, and so they're being very predictable and very vanilla with the running game right now on purpose, because basically they're trying to master one play and not give away too much of anything else they're trying to do, which I found extremely interesting. And not necessarily because the tendency from Arthur Smith, because the sort of thing he's known for is just spamming wide zone. Obviously, we saw the toss series they ran last year and some other stuff, but he's kind of known as an offensive coordinator that'll just crank up wide zone 15 times a game. So for him to say that, we're not going to be this heavy at it like that this year, this is just what we're working on right now, I think is pretty interesting.
As far as the results, I can understand that thought process in terms of the preseason and everything like that. And I mean, so maybe your evaluation could be different here, but when it also hasn't looked that good throughout training camp, and I don't know what your assessment was in terms of what it looked like during the joint practice, but to me, wouldn't that be a bit different than just saying that's why they're doing what they are in the preseason? I can understand them not wanting to put anything on tape then. But as far as just the it not looking good throughout training camp or that joint practice either.
Yeah, I thought in the joint practice they ran the ball more effectively than they have in the preseason, and there weren't very many no gains. They just were not explosive runs. When you're watching joint practice, a little 3-4 yard thud, tweet, whistle, you don't really pay that close of attention to those. But I probably didn't highlight them. But when you compare them to what we've seen in the preseason games, where there's been a lot of zeros and ones and negative ones, negative twos, and things like that, I didn't see as much of that in the joint practice.
Okay.
It's really hard to evaluate training camp because there's just no tackles. It's tough. It's tough. And I think a lot of it, too, is that we just, in no setting have we seen very much at all of Jaylen Warren. And that's going to be the dude. especially at the start of the year. Like, they have a lot of big hopes for Caleb Johnson long term. I would expect Jaylen Warren to get 75% of the carries in week 1, maybe higher. Like, it's going to be his ball. And we're not seeing him at all. So I don't really know how good of a vibe you're getting on this running game with what's been out there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point about Jaylen as well. The other thing I wanted to discuss on the offensive side of the ball was Broderick Jones. You mentioned you talked to him, obviously making that transition over to left tackle. And while, there's been much made about him going back to his natural spot, he himself has said about, feeling more comfortable over there, where there is differences, obviously, the hand placement, the footwork. Was that really all that he touched on, or what exactly did he have to say in terms of his move back over there?
Yeah, we talked about a lot of things, including some stuff I'm working on for a bigger picture story about the offensive line and that whole project of rebuilding the offensive line and how important this season is for it. Get that out maybe Wednesday over at SteelersNow.com. Also talked to Broderick about, I didn't bring this up to you when we talked before, but changes to the Steelers locker room this year, which was cool to see. So we can talk
Go
about
Rooney's
that a
wallet.
bit, yeah, go Rooney's wallet. The gist of what he's saying is he feels more comfortable on the left side. I think he's playing, and he said he thinks he's gotten a lot better since OTAs, which I think the play backs up that he looks a lot better, like just has continually gotten a lot better over there as time has gone on. And he's gotten more comfortable. And I think there's good reason to have some cautious optimism about the offensive line situation right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. That's why, like, when I talk about the variance for what this team could be, ceiling and floor, I'm much closer, I think, to the ceiling by season's end than I am to the floor. I feel like the caveat needs to be thrown in there, like how things could go wrong. Not predicting that they will, but there's a path to it.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the record as fairly skeptical of this plan, and we'll see. I mean, it's still very early, but I also had fun talking with Broderick about the relationship between the very young offensive line and its very old quarterback that it's protecting. And he said it's funny. It's kind of like a love-hate thing sometimes, where it's like, these young guys are killing me, both like, in the sarcastic and occasionally in the serious sense when they screw something up and he has to get on them about it. But he said every guy in that locker room feels a level of pressure to live up to Aaron Rodgers' expectations for them, and how he feels like that has made them all better.
Yeah, see, I mentioned that last week where, like, Pat has said that to me, and, like, Jaylen said that about Cam and TJ on the defensive side, and I think it's super interesting. But, I mean, what about, just in terms of that, kind of the middleman between that, I guess. I know he doesn't talk a lot, but Isaac Seumalo is kind of like, I guess, if you're looking at age there, in between most of the offensive line and Aaron Rodgers. You mentioned to me what he had to say about Broderick, and I was just curious what that conversation was like.
Yeah, Isaac's made a few words. I asked him if he could talk, and he says, well, what do you want to talk about? Which is great, because it's like, well, maybe. I mean,
the weather.
What's it going to – yeah. But he was more than willing to talk about the group. And, he said one of the things that stands out to him about them is there's this sort of immense pressure placed on this group externally, and he thinks they do a really good job of dealing with it and channeling it in a positive way. Obviously, everyone knows their first-round picks. That comes with its own pressure. When you have a pair of them at the same position and 2 other draft picks, and and the team makes such an investment in its future at a position, everyone's counting on them. And I think there is a world in which that pressure can impact players negatively. And Isaac seems to be one sort of taking it on himself to be the barometer of the offensive line so that it doesn't become a negative. But also that they're pretty good on their own. That those guys kind of get it.
Gotcha. Okay. And we're already at 30 minutes, but last thing I got to bring up because I'm very curious about what he had to say here.
Talk about the locker room also?
Well, okay. Yeah, we can go there.
So was very surprised. Nobody told us anything was happening. Walked into the Steelers locker room today. Big new signage, lit signs on the walls. They painted the walls black. New carpet.
Literally lit, or like as the kids would say,
literally and figuratively lit.
All right.
And like all new like LED lights in the ceiling. Sort of changed the footprint of things around a little bit to try to maximize the space, get more guys into permanent lockers. They added more permanent lockers, about maybe 8 or 9, to try to get guys out of temporary lockers where ever since I've expanded the practice squad and have made it easier to put players on injured reserve, that locker room was kind of built for like 60 guys, and it currently usually has about 75 in it. And you can tell there's just not enough room. So, I mean, definitely trying to like take the fullest possible advantage of the space and make things a little bit nicer. It's not like some huge change that's going to overnight adjust everyone's opinions about the Steelers facility, but it definitely feels like an effort being made to try to quell some of the players' concerns that have been voiced.
And that's, I mean, ultimately that's what matters, right? Like, does it really matter what fan perception is of the conditions that as long as the players are okay with what's going on there, and if this makes them happier, great. That's ultimately who it matters to. That's my opinion.
Look, I honestly, like, if you get a survey about what you'd like to be better at your place of work, you can always come up with an answer. That doesn't mean that you are necessarily bothered by, like, I talked to one player today who was like, I don't care at all. like I'm trying to get a story here, and they're just like,
Thanks for the feedback, Isaac.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, that's very true. Please check the complaint box at Steelers Now headquarters, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Well, I'll get right on that. And so, I mean, I'll be honest. It really doesn't matter. Like, no team is losing a free agent or anything that is ever going to impact their ability to be good on the field by this condition of their locker room. The Steelers do need more room. They need more physical space. They need more square footage. They have a lease through 2030. They're on the south side with UPMC. I think they are in the planning process for what the end of that looks like, whether it's some kind of expansion, renovation, a move perhaps, to try to get them some more room, because like they really do. They need a bigger gym. They need more training facilities, hot tubs, cold tubs, a sauna. Like they're always in this sort of forever space crunch where it's like, okay, we can add that, but we have to take something else away to fit it in. And they really want to just be able to provide not luxury. The Steelers aren't interested in luxury. That's not what their brand is all about. But they do want to be able to have everything they feel like their players need to do their jobs. I think there's been an acknowledgement over the years that what they have right now is not quite up to that standard. But that is a big picture plan. There's not a lot of room on the south side. I don't know if you go up with the building or you build another building down there somewhere, maybe at the far end of the fields to move some things there. I don't know. It's not like it's going to be some kind of quick fix like that. That's a long-term project.
Absolutely. Talk about space. The Steelers off-ball linebackers certainly cover a lot of it. Second year with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Patrick Queen. Second year in the NFL, Payton Wilson. I wanted to know what you told me Patrick Queen was asked about Payton Wilson, and I was curious as to what that relationship is going to look like. It looks like it looked to me just within 1 year, Patrick Queen and Landon Roberts were pretty close. Not to say Payton Wilson wasn't integrated in there as well, but I'm just curious what that relationship is like, both on and off the field, and if you got any insight into at least one aspect of that, if not both.
Yeah. So was talking to Brendan Howe at the start of the day about things that came out of that game that we hadn't written about yet that we wanted to get to today. One of the big ones was talking about Payton Wilson, gets beat for that touchdown, obviously. Made some bold proclamations about his coverage ability earlier this training camp, and I think has looked really good on the whole, even though he did give up that touchdown. And so was really looking to write a story there about his growth and development, his confidence, which I think is the most notable change in him, and gave Brendan that story. And we talked to TA about him. He interviewed Payton Wilson, and I was in the locker room later, and I saw PQ over there, and so I went over and just asked him a couple questions. And it was really funny because the premise of the story is, man, Payton Wilson seems a lot more confident this year, and he seems like a different guy out there, and you can really tell a difference from the rookie year. And PQ's answer was like, "Oh, I can't wait until he actually really unlocks all that stuff, because this guy's gonna you're not gonna believe how good he's gonna be." And so I came to it from a perspective of, man, how much better is Payton Wilson? And PQ's response was like, "You haven't seen anything yet," which I thought was really eye-opening answer to that line of questioning.
Is there, I don't know, being up close in person with him, is there any physical difference that you notice, or is there a desire for there to be, or does he wanted to be at the same weight that he was carrying last year anyway, and feels like
I don't think he looks all that different.
Okay.
He's a freak about fitness. As a wrestler, when I interviewed him at the Senior Bowl, he went on for 5 minutes about how he changed his playing weight by 5 pounds and all of the differences that he thought that made for him.
I feel like we talked about this on here going back to when this conversation happened. Before the Steelers drafted him, just you talking about the Senior Bowl.
I gain or lose 5 pounds in 45 minutes. That's it's just here and they're gone. It's nothing. But so I don't know if I don't think he's bigger. I will say I think he looks like he's in better football shape at this time of the year. That rookie year is so tough because those guys go straight from the season to draft prep, and especially positions like off-ball linebacker, where they're really trying to slim down and run a good 40 time and show all that athleticism, but then they've got to go deal with the rigors of the season, so they've got to put on weight, and it's like that yo-yo is not healthy. It's not good for your body, and I just feel like he got there eventually last year, but I feel like he's there earlier this year.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Good stuff. A little bit longer today, but definitely wanted to get that in there as well. Alan, until tomorrow, where I'm sure I know what we're going to be talking about in terms of a headline. So, again, this could be cold takes exposed if not. But tell the people they find you.
Yeah, also, I think we might try to corral Jalen Ramsey tomorrow for an interview. So we'll see if we're able to fill that task as well. Could be fun. You can find me at @Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now site's account. SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the word. Sign up for SM Plus. You get exclusive access to the best content from me, DB, and the rest of the Steelers Now team. You get access to our subs-only live stream, which is happening a week from today, 6 p.m. next Monday. You will get an email with the link. It'll also be on the website in the members-only section of SteelersNow.com. Those are a lot of fun. Come hang out with me, Smitty, and DB, and we'll see if we can bring some of the rest of the team in there for that one. Make it a big family get together. And of course, anyone can subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube channel. It really helps us grow this channel and continue to reach a bigger and bigger audience with this podcast, which you guys have just been doing a fan-freaking-tastic job of since the start of training camp. It's been unreal.
Yeah, 460 new subscribers on the YouTube channel in the last 28 days, bringing the total to 16,400. And Cody Wallace.
I don't know Cody Wallace's number. 64?
72.
72. 72. Oh, I mean, I'm going to go Big ZB, number 72. Reporting is eligible.
Reporting is
72.
eligible. Yep.
Reporting is eligible. Zach Banner. There you go.
There you go. Well, everybody watching and listening to this, they should report as subscribed to this YouTube channel. Or if you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast's from, leave us a 5-star review over there. Subscribe over there so you get a notification every time a new show goes up. All that good stuff. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok, and then you'll find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH, Alan Saunders, and myself. Thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.